The story opens on a quiet, suburban evening, the kind of dusk where the air feels heavy with memory. The narrator, a 23-year-old man, stands at the doorway of his best friend's home, invited for dinner. But the moment the door opens, it isn't his friend who greets him, it's her. His friend's mother. A 40-year-old woman with long black hair pulled loosely over one shoulder, wearing a simple cream blouse and soft jeans. There's a calm confidence in the way she carries herself, like someone who doesn't need to prove anything. Yet, behind her poised smile, there's something else, a quiet, playful spark that lingers just long enough to make him second-guess whether he imagined it. She remembers him, of course, from school events years ago, when he was just the shy kid who followed her son around. But now, standing in front of her, he isn't that boy anymore. He's taller, broader, and his voice carries a steadiness she didn't expect. The evening unfolds simply. Dinner, laughter, casual conversation. But beneath every word lies an undercurrent, small, unspoken moments that stretch just a little too long. When she pours him a glass of wine, her fingers brush his. Her eyes flick up to meet his before retreating with a faint smirk. He notices the details, how the light from the kitchen softens the edges of her face, how her voice lowers slightly when speaking to him, how she leans just a little closer than she needs to. None of it feels deliberate, yet none of it feels accidental either. When her son leaves to take a call, the air shifts. Silence settles in, the kind that feels heavier than words. She looks at him, her gaze calm but curious, like she's studying something she can't quite name. Then, in that low, steady tone of hers, she says it, "You're too young to know what you're doing, but I'll teach you." It's not a flirtation, not exactly. There's humor in her voice, but also a strange sincerity that leaves him frozen between disbelief and fascination. It's as if she's challenging him, daring him to step into a space he's only ever imagined. He laughs it off, trying to match her confidence, but his pulse betrays him. The way she looks at him afterward, steady, assessing, with the faintest glimmer of something softer, it changes the air between them completely. He realizes that this isn't about age or experience. It's about curiosity, hers and his, drawn to each other in ways neither expected. The night ends quietly, but as he leaves, her voice follows him. "Next time, you can bring dessert and maybe a little courage." He walks in the night with a racing heart, aware that something has begun, something neither of them planned, but both of them feel. The next few days linger in his mind like the aftertaste of something forbidden, sweet, uncertain, and impossible to forget. Every glance at his phone feels loaded with possibility, though he knows she hasn't texted him. She wouldn't. She doesn't have to. Her words, "I'll teach you," echo in his head like a secret meant only for him. By Friday evening, he finds himself walking down the familiar street again. His excuse is simple. His friend invited him to watch the game. But the truth, the quiet truth pulsing beneath his ribs, is that he's hoping she'll be there. She is. The door opens, and there she stands, the same woman, but somehow different. Her hair is loose tonight, framing her face in soft waves that catch the light. She's wearing a fitted cardigan over a dark blue dress, casual but effortlessly elegant. She smiles, and there's that same knowing flicker in her eyes, the kind that makes him forget what he came for. "Her son's running late," she says. "He'll be home soon. You don't mind waiting, do you?" she adds, her tone almost casual, though her gaze lingers a second too long. They sit in the living room, the faint hum of music filling the silence. She pours them both tea, no wine this time, and for a while, it's just conversation. She asks about his work, his plans, his ambitions. But beneath the words, there's a gentle rhythm forming, a kind of emotional dance where every answer feels like a step closer. At one point, she laughs softly at something he says. The sound warms the room. Her hand brushes his when she reaches for the sugar bowl, and this time, neither of them pull away. It's such a small touch, the kind that could mean nothing, but it sends a ripple through the air between them. He catches her studying him again, her head slightly tilted, her expression soft yet unreadable. Then she says quietly, "You've changed." He tries to joke it off, asking, for better or worse? Her eyes don't waver. For braver, she says. Something about the way she says it, low, certain, and warm, feels like a door opening. For the first time, he realizes this isn't just curiosity. It's recognition. She sees something in him that no one else does, and maybe hasn't for a long time. The front door handle rattles. Her son's voice calls out from outside. She moves back quickly, her composure sliding neatly into place. Her expression softens into the easy calm of a mother greeting her child. But just before he enters, she looks back at him, her voice a whisper almost drowned by the sound of footsteps. Next time, don't wait for an invitation. He swallows hard, realizing she isn't talking about the tea, or the house, or even the moment. She's talking about the line between curiosity and courage, and she's daring him to cross it. Saturday arrives slower than usual, the kind of day where everything feels charged with hidden meaning. Every sound, every thought, even the sunlight spilling through his window, reminds him of her words. Asterisk, next time, don't wait for an invitation. Asterisk, he can't tell if it was a challenge or a warning, but either way, it's echoing in his head all morning. By late afternoon, he gives into the pull. He walks back to her street again. No excuse this time, no friend to visit, just a quiet need he can't quite explain. When he reaches her front gate, he hesitates. His heart's steady but heavy, like it knows what crossing this line might mean. Before he can decide, the door opens. She's there again, this time dressed in light denim jeans and a white linen blouse, her hair tied back loosely. The sunlight catches the gold chain around her neck, and for a moment, he forgets to breathe. Her surprise fades quickly into a soft smile. You don't listen very well, do you? She teases gently, though there's no real reproach in her voice. Maybe I heard something different, he replies, and the way he looks at her makes her pause. Something changes then, not in words, but in the air between them. It's no longer curiosity. It's awareness. She lets him in. The house smells like coffee and old books, the afternoon light washing the walls in amber. They talk for a while again, but it's different now, quieter, more deliberate. Every sentence feels like it's carrying two meanings. When she leans against the kitchen counter, he notices the faint lines by her eyes deepen as she smiles. You remind me of someone, she says, stirring her coffee. Ooh, someone who used to believe the world would wait for him. He doesn't know what to say, but he meets her gaze, steady and unflinching. And did it. She looks at him for a long moment. No, she says softly. He learned he had to stop waiting. Silence fills the space, the kind that hums with emotion. Then almost unconsciously, she steps closer. The distance between them is small enough that he can feel the faint warmth of her presence. His pulse quickens. Her hand lifts, slow and uncertain, brushing a stray thread off his sleeve. The touch lingers a heartbeat longer than necessary, light, deliberate, and grounding. He doesn't move, afraid that any motion might break the fragile truth taking shape in the air. Her eyes search his face, not with the boldness of a woman flirting, but with the softness of someone fighting what she already knows. You should go, she whispers, but the words tremble. He nods, but his feet don't move. For a moment, neither does she. Then, with a breath that sounds almost like surrender, she says, You really don't know what you're doing, do you? He smiles faintly. Maybe not, but I know what I want. The words hang there, heavy and raw. And when he finally turns to leave, he feels her eyes on his back, not stopping him, but silently, helplessly asking him to come back. The next few days move slowly, like the world is holding its breath. Every hour feels stretched thin with thoughts of her. The warmth in her voice, the quiet flicker of hesitation in her eyes, the way her hand lingered on his sleeve. He tries to shake it off, but he can't. It's more than attraction now. It's curiosity mixed with something deeper, something he doesn't yet have a name for. So when she texts him out of the blue, asterisk, can you help me move a few boxes this weekend? Asterisk. He doesn't even hesitate. When he arrives, the house feels different. The light filters through the curtains in soft patterns, dust motes dancing lazily in the air. She's dressed casually, an oversized shirt tucked into fitted jeans, barefoot, her dark hair falling loosely over her shoulders. There's no pretense, no teasing smirk, just that calm, confident air she wears so naturally. "Thanks for coming," she says, her tone gentler than usual. "Didn't think you'd actually show up." "I said I would," he replies, smiling. "You don't seem like someone who likes to ask for help." She pauses, looking down for a moment before meeting his eyes again. "I'm not. That's why it surprised me when I did." The afternoon passes slowly as they work side by side, sorting through boxes filled with old photo albums, books, and traces of her life. Every time their hands brush, a current of awareness passes between them. Not rushed, not accidental, just quietly undeniable. At one point, he finds a photo, her, maybe 15 years younger, standing beside a man with a kind face. She takes it from his hand gently, her thumb brushing over the man's image. "My ex-husband," she murmurs. "He was a good person. We just stopped growing in the same direction." There's no bitterness in her tone, only quiet acceptance. He studies her for a moment, noticing the way the light plays across her face, the soft lines of experience, the steadiness in her eyes. "Do you ever miss it?" he asks softly. She smiles faintly, setting the photo down. "Sometimes I miss who I was when I thought love was simple." The answer settles deep in him, stirring something he doesn't expect: empathy, admiration, and an ache that feels too old for his age. As the day turns to early evening, they take a break on the back porch. The sky glows gold and pink, and the world feels wrapped in calm. She sits beside him, close enough that her shoulder brushes his arm. "You're quiet," she says, turning slightly toward him. "Just thinking," he replies. "About what?" He looks at her, his voice steady but low. "How someone like you makes everything else feel small." She doesn't respond right away. Her eyes search his, soft but unreadable. Then she exhales slowly, her lips curving into a faint smile. Part warning, part surrender. "You shouldn't say things like that," she whispers. "Why not?" "Because I might start believing you." For a moment, the air stills. Their shoulders stay pressed together, neither daring to move. And though no words follow, the quiet between them says everything. That something has begun, and neither of them is ready to stop it. The following week, something unspoken begins to shift between them. Their messages grow more frequent, short, casual at first, but increasingly tinted with warmth. She sends pictures of her garden, a cup of coffee, or a book she's reading. He replies with jokes, late-night thoughts, or small details about his day that somehow feels safer shared with her than anyone else. When he stops by again, it's under the pretense of returning a borrowed book. She opens the door in a soft gray sweater, her hair loosely tied, bare feet on polished wood. The scent of vanilla and rain hangs in the air, comforting, familiar. "You didn't have to come all this way," she says with a faint smile. "I know," he answers, holding the book out. "Guess I wanted to." There's a pause, not awkward but thick with awareness. She steps aside, letting him in. The late afternoon light glows through the windows, wrapping the living room in gold. Everything feels still. She moves toward the kitchen. "Coffee." "Always." As she pours, he watches her, the quiet confidence in her movements, the way she hums under her breath. When she hands him the cup, their fingers brush just a second too long. It's enough to set the air trembling. He takes a sip, but his voice is lower when he speaks. "You ever think about what this looks like?" She tilts her head, her gaze steady. "What do you mean?" "Us. The way we talk. The way we—" He trails off, unsure how to finish. Her eyes soften, not with surprise, but understanding. "You think people would judge?" He nods slightly. "Wouldn't you?" For a moment, she says nothing. The silence stretches between them, filled only by the faint ticking of a clock. Then, quietly, she sets her cup down and leans against the counter. "I used to care about what people thought," she admits. "About doing the right thing, saying the right words. But lately, I realized something." He waits. Her voice drops to a whisper. "The right thing doesn't always make you happy." The sentence lands like a confession. His breath catches, not from the words themselves, but from the way she looks at him when she says them. Open, unafraid. He steps closer, drawn by something neither can name. His hand brushes hers again, deliberate this time. Her fingers don't move away. You're playing a dangerous game, she says, though her tone lacks conviction. Maybe, he answers. But so are you. Her laugh is quiet, shaky. You have no idea what you're doing. He looks at her, really looks at the strength in her jaw, the faint tremor in her breath, the pulse fluttering near her collarbone. Then, teach me, he says softly. Her lips part, but no words come. Instead, she takes one step closer, close enough that the edge of her sweater brushes his shirt. The warmth between them hums, fragile but electric. Outside, the rain begins to fall light, steady, endless. Inside, neither moves. The clock ticks, coffee cools, and every second stretches thin with everything they want but can't yet say. The boundary that once seemed so clear now feels paper-thin, ready to dissolve with one more heartbeat. Days slip by, yet their last conversation lingers like an unfinished melody. Every message between them feels heavier now, every glance longer. When he visits again, this time to help her fix a leaky tap, both know it's not just about plumbing. It's about the tension that's been quietly threading through every word, every look. The house is quiet except for the faint patter of rain outside. She's in jeans and a soft cream blouse, sleeves rolled to her elbows. The light from the window hits her hair, turning black strands to dark silk. He kneels beneath the sink, trying to focus on the task, but his hands feel clumsy, not from the wrench, but from the nearness of her. He feels her presence even before she speaks. You're getting good at this, she teases lightly. He glances up at her. At fixing things? At showing up? She replies, a playful spark in her tone. But there's something else behind it, something gentler. Their eyes meet. Neither looks away. The air feels thick again, the kind that pulls two people closer without a word. When a faucet finally stops dripping, he stands, wiping his hands. Guess that's done. Guess it is, she says, her voice softer now. A beat passes. Then she adds, you remind me of someone I used to know, someone who didn't overthink everything. He leans against the counter. And what happened to them? Her lips curve in a wistful smile. Life happened. Responsibility. Fear of doing the wrong thing. There's a pause before he speaks again. Maybe that's why I'm here. To remind you that sometimes it's okay not to think so much. Her laughter is quiet, but her eyes glisten. You really think you can teach me that? Didn't you say you'd be the one teaching me? He replies, stepping closer. Her breath catches. That's not what I meant. I know, he says, and he does. But meaning has stopped being the point. What's left now is the space between what they say and what they feel. He reaches for a stray lock of her hair that's fallen over her face. His fingers hover, trembling slightly before tucking it behind her ear. The touch lasts a second, two at most, but it feels like a confession. Her eyes flutter, close for a moment, just long enough for him to feel the weight of her restraint. When she opens them again, her voice trembles. This isn't what I planned. Neither did I. The room feels smaller now, not from walls but from gravity. It's as if something invisible has drawn them together, and neither can resist. She exhales slowly. You don't know what this could cost me. I'm not asking for anything, he says quietly. I just don't want to pretend anymore. Her hand lifts, almost reaching for him, then stops midair. The hesitation says everything. She wants to, but she's scared of what happens next. He whispers, then let it happen. For a heartbeat, she stands frozen, searching his face as if trying to decide whether this is a mistake or something she's needed for years. Finally, she steps closer, her voice trembling between defiance and surrender. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me, he murmurs. The space between them vanishes. Nothing explosive, nothing reckless, just quiet, aching closeness that feels both forbidden and inevitable. And in that stillness, with rain tapping gently against the glass, they both realize this was never about teaching. It was about finally remembering how to feel. Morning light creeps through the curtains, soft, golden, uninvited. The world outside carries on as if nothing happened, but inside that quiet house, everything feels suspended. The air holds the ghost of last night, laughter that lingered too long, touches that said what words never could. He sits at the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the faint light on the wall. The silence between them hums like static. Across the room, she stands by the window, a cup of coffee untouched in her hands. Her hair is loose, her expression unreadable. Neither speaks first. Maybe neither knows how to. Finally, she says, almost to herself, "This can't happen again." He looks up, his voice low. "Do you want it to stop?" She hesitates. The pause stretches thin. "That's not the point." He stands, takes a step closer. Not reckless this time, just steady. "Then what is?" Her eyes flicker, part guilt, part longing. "You're too young to understand what people lose when they stop thinking." He smiles faintly. "Maybe you're too scared to remember what it's like not to." Her breath catches, the kind that's half a sigh, half surrender. The words hit her deeper than he knows. For years, she's built walls, practical, quiet, careful walls. But now, with him standing there, all of it feels fragile. Too fragile. "I can't," she whispers. "You don't know what this would do." He steps closer still. "Maybe I do. Maybe I just don't care." Her eyes widen, not from shock but from recognition, because she remembers when she used to be that brave too. "Stop," she says softly, but her voice breaks halfway through the word. He doesn't move closer. He doesn't have to. The silence does all the work, thick, charged, undeniable. She sets the cup down, turns away as if distance can fix what's already broken. "You should go," she says. He nods slowly, but before he leaves, he murmurs, "You said you'd teach me. Maybe this is what you were meant to teach me." Her eyes meet his one last time, and for the first time, there's no teasing, no control, no mask. Just truth, raw and trembling. "Maybe," she whispers. But lessons like this, they always cost something. He leaves. The door clicks softly behind him, and in that silence, she finally lets out the breath she's been holding. The house feels emptier than before, not because he's gone, but because something has shifted, something she can't take back. Later that night, her phone lights up with a message. "I'm still learning." She stares at it for a long time, then types a reply, but doesn't send it. Instead, she places the phone face down, her lips curving into a faint, bittersweet smile. Outside, the rain starts again, steady, relentless, the same way her thoughts return to him. Because deep down, she knows this isn't over. Not curiosity, not attraction, not them. It's only the beginning of something neither of them were ready to name. And somewhere between guilt and desire, one truth echoes in her mind. She never meant to teach him this lesson, but now she can't unlearn it either.